Hello, folks. This is Larry's Great Adventure in Hawaii. Thanks for joining in with my friend Philip and me. We are in our contemplative mood, We are reflecting upon life and all of its significance. And Philip is going to ask me some questions that he has in mind, particular questions about something that he's been thinking about. So, it's a beautiful morning. I'm always reminded of the Apache blessing. Oh, thank you. Prayer blessing that beauty go before me, beauty go behind me, may beauty go beside me, under me, over me, beauty surround me. And out in this experience, it truly is an experience of beauty that we have. We were at the Waikiki beach yesterday, and the palm trees were overhead. It was just gorgeous, and people were enjoying the waves. I really like watching surfers come in, even on small waves. It's just so intriguing to watch them become one with the wave and the board, and to move as the wave moves. It's just fantastic. And we saw some beautiful people there from all over the world, all kinds of languages, and that's truly beautiful beauty as well here. So, Philip, introduce yourself to my
Well, I'm his friend.
friends.
I've known him since high school, but hadn't seen him in the last half century. And he came out to visit me in Hawaii, brave man that he is. And we've had a marvelous time. We now both wear white shirts when we're speaking about lofty matters. But in any case, he sends out, when at the footnote at the bottom of his emails, he has a quote from Rimi, which is, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in the grass, the world is too full to talk about. But out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field." Now, I was curious what Larry thinks that place is, so I would ask that question. What is that place beyond wrongdoing and right doing to you?
Well, thank you for asking, Philip. Perhaps you've heard people say that when a minister preaches, she or he preaches primarily to him or herself. And similarly, this is an addition to my signature that is partly a reminder to me to keep that in mind. So it's really something upon which I need to focus my attention daily.
What is that place?
And the place, well, it seems to me that place is where hearts meet, and where minds are calm and still, and there's no judgment of each other or of self. And so it's a place of attentiveness, a place of being open and alert. I read yesterday of a story of a man who went to find an elder because he wanted to be mentored by an elder, and so we sought out the elder, and the Russian name for elder is starets, and in the Eastern Orthodox tradition in the Russian Church, the starets were always available for consultation, and oftentimes became part of the community effort, whatever was going on. And it's just real interesting that to me that the elders are people who have been consulted for various reasons, and not consulted about how-tos as much as just to be in their presence, to learn something about life. And this fellow went out to find the elder and was talking with the elder about his life. And the thing that he got most from the elder was the elder listened. Just listened.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't agree, didn't disagree, but really listened. And the benefit or the feeling that he had was that I have been experienced by another human being, and
Acknowledged and
heard and acknowledged, and I don't know if I can communicate this sense of empathy that is really experiencing the other person, but I think that's that field. I think that's where the field is.
Is right doing and wrong doing an illusion or a reality we're escaping from, this field you speak of?
I believe, my life has been caught up in seeking justice and righteousness. And where I am now in my development is that as I attempt to be righteous, I destroy righteousness. As I attempt to be virtuous, I am caught up in my own self.
You destroy virtue. Yes.
My own self attempting to be virtuous.
Mm-hmm.
When I want to be right, which I often do, I often want to be right above all things, and I'm destroying, my ego has taken over and destroyed rightness. Or the relationship. It really is relationship I believe I want.
So it's the wanting that causes the destruction of the reality, because wanting means you're not there.
Yeah. Wanting is, I no longer am conscious of the other. I'm conscious of wanting.
Mm-hmm. It's outside.
My own wanting to be righteous. My own wanting to be virtuous. Mm-hmm. And my own wanting to be just, my own wanting for my country to be just. Mm-hmm. It becomes really multifaceted when we start thinking of ourselves as being in power in our nation, of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we get caught up in striving to be righteous and just. I mean, I'm not sure I've worked this all out totally, Philip, but I knew I have an idea of the concept.
I know it starts with me, and if I don't complicate it with outside of me and the greater illusion of, of social responsibility, then it tends to be more with greater clarity. I can see it when it's purely myself and not all the other illusions. Yes.
What I tend to do now, Philip, is spin off into system thinking.
What do you mean?
Well, stronger than anybody, and we tend to be shaped by the system. Individuals do.
Oh, you're saying thinking. It's almost a feeling as opposed to a thought. Emotion, in lower brain, not frontal cortex, but further down in the brain. You're referring to the responses we have.
Good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that they're almost what we call instinct is really trained. Instinct. It's trained by our society. It's trained by our expectations, and
it's more reflexive than taking initiative. Perhaps
that's exactly correct. The reflect, and so then the question is, how do you change a system? I mean, remember when we were in high school? We were
vaguely.
We were talking about, we're not going to be part of the system. Well, what did we mean? We're not going to be part of the system. The system is a mess. And, of course, we were part of the system.
I'm not sure I said that, but I understand.
Yeah, I was ahead of you. It's okay. The system really has strength to shape us, and there is a need often to change the system, but how do you change the system? And in part it has to do with a new vision. I said the other day that people change because of two motivations: expiration and inspiration.
I really like that.
They change because we change because we're going to die if we keep doing it the way we're doing it. And sometimes that death is not, of the way of doing things, is not a bad thing. But if we're going to not die physically. We often say, wow, now I'm going to change. How many people in their elder years finally decide, oh, I'm going to get in shape?
Deathbed conversions? Or?
Deathbed conversions, yeah. I can see myself dying, so I'm going to get in better shape, or I'm going to eat better. And I mean, how much money goes into elder care that is actually preventative?
Oh, it's out of shape care. They just didn't take care of themselves. Nothing to do with age. It's a consistent abuse of the atavar that they call their bodies, the playing piece of life. They destroy or neglect.
And so expiration is a motivator. Inspiration can be as well, and that's where we really need leaders that are setting out a vision that it captures our imagination. Now, any leader can do that, and any leader can do it for their worldview. Now, present worldview that is focused on individual, I get mine, too bad you get yours when you can, and doesn't have a sense of collective responsibility, is inspiring a lot of folks right now. And it's inspiring people to vote to eliminate health care for millions of Americans.
For themselves.
And even for themselves. For the sake of a vision for which they feel inspired. So this is a real dilemma.
Well, it's easy to be against something, too. These people were a group that was feeling, well, of course, Fox News is a phenomenon in itself, which appeals to the people who want to blame and who feel themselves victims.
It's true.
Which has nothing to do with the right answer. You know, it has to do with an excuse for my position. Let's blame someone. That's very unifying. Let's find the right way. That takes some kind of consciousness and self-awareness, being for something as opposed to against.
But the moving out of egocentricity into a sense of the collective whole as a worldview is what I think I'm referring to. And when there's inspiration that has to do only with the egocentric orientation.
Inspiration only has to do with egocentric.
It can. No, it doesn't. No, it can, but it also can be the collective. Inspiration can also come from this vision of the universe, and that's the kind that I like.
Yeah.
You know, that we're all connected, we're all one, and we're all interacting.
Yeah. If you lose, I lose too.
If you lose, I lose too. The field of understanding, we're right and wrong, don't really matter. It's a matter of connecting human beings. That is, and when we need inspiration, I think we need inspiration from that point of view. However, most of Americans, for sure, are right now in the egocentric.
Most Americans? I wouldn't say that.
Go ahead, comment on it.
The folks that voted for Trump are the changing environment. I think there are, the majority of people didn't vote, number one.
That's a good point.
It's not a good representation of America. We're the shining city on a hill. And we are told by Fox News and by Donald Trump that we're poor. And then a certain measure of people, we're living, even the poorest are almost living better than medieval kings and queens. But then we're told we're poor. We're told we're fat. We're told we're skinny. We're told we have wrinkles. We're told we have cellulite. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we create an environment of being a victim and then give them salvation. It's a great marketing technique. The Catholics did a great job with that.
The Catholics.
Yes, you are broken, you're a born sinner. What a great idea.
You're going to hell and save you.
Unless only we can save you.
Yeah,
wow.
We and only we.
I may be speaking with the head of a Buddhist collective here, and one of my questions was, why should I become Buddhist? What's it good for? The Christians say you go to hell. Well, that's certainly a motivation if you buy into it. But if I'm not going to go to hell, why would I, as an individual, choose to be Buddhist? And Hopefully I get to ask that question. But, it's fun talking to you.
Again, it has to do with inspiration. What inspires you, Philip?
Passion, curiosity, yeah, I'd say curiosity. And I like feeling good. Looking forward to things, believing my dreams are possible. My father, when he was alive, and I were discussing the nature of utopia, and decided that utopia was not a place, but a feeling that your dreams are possible. I can sit on the curb with nothing, believing in my dream, and I feel rich. But I've known people who have all sorts of physical wealth and don't have a dream, and they're the poorest people I've ever seen. They're wanting, always wanting. Why do they amass this wealth in the first place? In part because they can't use it. So if I only get more, then I'll be able to be happy. And it just doesn't work. But it's a compulsion as opposed to a passion. And I think compulsion and passion, or addiction and passion, look very similar from the outside. But addiction is to try to satisfy a craving, but it never is, oh, that really feels good. They're driven to do it, but it doesn't give them any satisfaction. So the appearance of wealth is not what happened. They're starving at their own banquet, trying to eat.
Who are you? Who are you? How do you answer that question? Who are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I've heard the story. My favorite uncle, a Baptist minister in western Kansas, in Salina, Kansas. One of my half dozen American Baptist ministers was dying. I was a half generation younger than my peers, cousins, etc. So I was hearing all these stories as people stood around his deathbed with Uncle Theron presiding between his moans of pain and laughter from the old stories that I'd never heard. And in a small voice, in the midst of all this, he said, I think my life is just a collection of my loves. Oh, and I said, now I know who I am. The more I love, the more I am. I'm a perceiver. I'm a seer. And that is who I am. But if you turn the camera on, I'm the camera. If you turn the camera on itself, it sees nothing. So this whole illusion of me being something in the world turned into I am something in the world, and the world is in me. So it was no longer I'm an object in the world. It's a way of looking at things. I ceased to be the source of self, but the interplay. It was a relationship, not a physical object with Philip.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I like what you're saying. I'm a little confused. I want to ask a clarifying question. What do you mean when you say, when they turn the camera on yourself, it sees nothing?
It sees, there's nothing happening with the camera. The camera is a perceiver. So if I look to the perceiver, when it's not perceiving anything, it's neutral, like tofu. It's not, there's nothing happening with the camera. It's simply the eye that sees. There's no occurrence. There's nothing there because it is only what it sees. So if I look for myself and say, this is my position, this is who I am, then I have to start using nouns. Even the Hebrews made God an unpronounceable word, which they proceeded to pronounce. So the moment I say who I am, I cease to be, I'm not that, because I'm greater than that. I'm all things. If I say I am just this, then I'm not anything else. And
I think I understand now, and I totally agree.
now I'm a function. I'm not a thing. I'm an interaction.
I used to have a list of things that I responded to that question with, Philip. I had probably 50 things.
Really?
Yeah.
You still have it?
Yeah.
I'd like to.
No, I don't. I think I threw it away. And part of the reason is, the answer really is, I don't know. Who are you, Larry? I don't know.
Well, isn't it also asking a question that's unanswerable, creating a paradox that can't be?
Didn't I just say that?
You're creating. It's the question that
I don't know. Listen to me.
Well,
I said I don't know.
I understand, but you're trying to answer a question that it's like, what color is 4? What color is 4? Well, you don't know what color 4 is,
Correct.
But because it's the question that is improperly asked. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we ask questions which are meaningless, and we create a paradox where none exists. The mystery of love. I had a lot of fire and brimstone Baptist ministers, and I know exactly what it is, but they ask a question. Oftentimes it can't be answered, and create a paradox or a mystery.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
There is Alan Watts the other day, and one of the things I was listening to, Alan Watts said, do you want to see your brain? You can see your brain. Your brain is everything you see.
Nice.
Which I think is along the lines of what you've said.
Yeah.
That everything that we see, hear, touch, feel, just the way the brain creates reality. And we interpret that with emotion. But it is always there in our memory. Go ahead, you want to say something?
You said interpret it with emotion. Is emotion a meaning? There's first a meaning and then an emotion, or is it direct emotion?
Direct emotion.
If I hear a piece of music, do I give it a meaning and then have emotion from it, or is there it may be a bad example, but
well, I'm stuck in this, and you may challenge it as well, but I'm stuck in this, that meaning is a reflective activity. That the experience comes, and then we create meaning around the experience.
Based on our past experiences?
Partly.
So if a woman kisses me and I've been abandoned by women before, I'll say, why did you kiss me? As opposed to saying, oh God, that feels good.
Perhaps you would. I don't know. I wouldn't, but perhaps you would.
But when do things happen? A snake is thrown into a room with 2 people, a guy from Texas, a guy from New York City, with completely different responses. One, the New Yorker ends up as far away from the snake as possible. The Texan grabs the tail of the snake, cracks like a whip and breaks the neck of the snake, gets out his knife and skins it, makes a belt for himself and lunch. Now, who was correct in their meanings for this snake?
Well, both of them are.
Exactly. Well, if I have that choice concerning meanings, why would I choose one where I become a victim?
I don't know what you would, because
I mean, in my life, as I see, after I see
think
that
you're trying to
text
make a point by asking the question.
I'm trying to make a point.
You're not trying to ask me the question. You're asking the question as a way of getting to a point, which is a very good point.
Well, for clarification.
Which is a very good point, which is the context in which you interpret may take you a direction that's unnecessary and dysfunctional.
Well, it was necessary at the point, but why do we choose to always be afraid of spiders? Because our mother taught us, why do I keep repeating the same, never learning, getting past being a victim and becoming a student of, for example.
I think that's the emotional patterning, the emotional reactivity that we've created, and that's how we interpret the experience.
And then how can we break that cycle? Why would one? What's better than that?
Inspiration.
Which can only really happen with love, because every inspiration means you're going to go out and get shut down. You may be completely wrong. You walk across the room and say, "I'd love to dance with you," and she says, "No, thanks."
Well, the inspiration of knowing that guy could crack the head off of the rattlesnake might inspire the New Yorker to grab the next snake and try it himself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. But so the meanings come first sometimes. We can learn things intuitively or experientially from our parents, but another example, maybe more neutral, where I had my bipolar girlfriend years ago in Germany. The light turned green and I said, "Green light," and she got mad, and she'd been sitting there for a few seconds, and I said, "Well, gee, I wasn't trying to tell you you should go, or that you should know better, but rather the light's green," and she got it. So in different situations, I'd say something, or she would, and she'd go, "The light's green," as a metaphor for, it doesn't mean I'm judging you.
I spend a lot of effort in my conversations with people attempting to identify and relate to the context in which they are hearing things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's really important, because it's amazing what you can say and how they interpret it.
And I think that's what you're talking about.
I think that is too.
When you say meaning comes first.
Mm-hmm.
No, I say they react. Emotional dimensions are a part of that meaning. So it's an emotional programming that's already in place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I don't always do that. I mean, I'm not effective. I like to pride myself in it, but it's a false pride, because I fuck up a lot. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Well, I wouldn't say you fuck up.
Well, I don't do. I miss the mark. I miss the bullseye.
Well, I heard a guy on CNN years ago who wrote, "You euphemisms, and one of them was when you shoot for the target and miss the mark, call what you hit the mark.
I don't get it.
When you're shooting for the bullseye, but your arrow goes somewhere else, call that the exact. That's where it's supposed to be.
Oh.
It's to call what you hit outside of the bullseye the mark. That's what I was supposed to do, as opposed to self-flagellating myself, saying, "Why didn't I do it?" Because that's where I had to be at the moment. It's rich by itself. It doesn't have to be bullseye.
Is that how you throw darts?
I'm very kind to myself when I play darts because it's an approximation. It's the whole point about perfect.
He's a dart champion.
Half a lifetime ago, more than half a lifetime ago. But it's taking away the judgment. And, it's also interesting too, if you didn't ever look at the bullseye, you'd very rarely hit it. It's just the very act of looking at it lets your darts start getting into a group.
Yep.
So it has to do with discernment. To look into an environment and how it embraces you if you stay with it.
Some neurolinguistic programming folks we're just always, and have always been, people who've been fascinated with what works, and they go to people that are successful, and they watch them, and listen to them, and pattern themselves after their success, and say, don't study the problem, study the success.
Yes.
Don't
that's well put.
And so this one fellow studied champion golfers. And said, you take several swings, asked them, do you take several swings, practice swings, how do you know you're ready to hit the ball?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the majority of them said, I take swings, look down the freeway. I look down the fairway, and then at the time that everything else disappears but the peg, but the flag, I hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Which is exactly what you're talking about. And it's a visual thing that has to do with some amazing function of the brain.
There's a connection, yeah.
And the body.
Well, even when you sing, when you hear a tone, the organ plays a key or gives you a note to start with, you immediately hit it. You do. Right on the mark, without any wavering. You're right at the bullseye of that sound. And that's completely, where does that come from? It isn't measured, it isn't precise.
It's not a thought.
It's just happens. And that's how the mind works.
It's amazing. Now, the mind. Are you in your mind, or is the mind in you?
No, there's no me. There's no I.
Okay.
There's only one thing happening here. It's like, it's a circle and I'm the circle. Not even part of the circle. I never thought I was part of the universe. I was the universe.
Okay.
As are you.
Mm-hmm.
You know. It's not, what is it? Cognitive dreaming? What is it? When you know you're dreaming, what's it called? When you wake up and you're half awake and half asleep when still dreaming and you know you're dreaming?
I'm thinking of the word. I'm grasping for it.
Okay, but I think you guys know what I mean. When you find the word, type it out right here, please. But when I'm dreaming and I have that awareness that I'm dreaming, do I dream a nightmare? No. I always dream something fun. Oh, I can do anything I want. And I do it. Well, that's how I feel the world is. Once I realize that I'm in charge of my happiness, why would I choose to be anything other than? No matter what happens. Oh, I'm in the hospital. Oh, I'm lying here on the bathroom floor. I might be dying. Well, why would I waste a moment being upset? And truly, that happens most of the time. Oh, I'm in the hospital, and look at all the nurses with their little masks. Aren't they beautiful? You know, why would I choose to be unhappy? You know, and I do get unhappy, and I get depressed, and I get lonely. But it's okay, because it goes away. Shall we move on to some other place after this? Should we continue? Are you having fun?
Oh, I'm having fun.
Okay.
You want to stop though?
No, I'm asking. It's your show.
Gosh, what is that dreaming? What's that dreaming?
It's not cognitive.
No, it's brilliant. It's shiny. It shines like this. It sparkles.
Please leave a message. Larry has his contact information below.
Please go to my my YouTube channel, Larry's Great Adventure in Hawaii, and you'll get a whole list of excellent presentations about Hawaii and around various places.
Excellent. Absolutely spectacular.
So thanks for joining with us, those of you who will, and those of you who have, and we will see you another night, or another morning, or another afternoon. Aloha and mahalo up in the upper right-hand corner.
Upper right-hand corner? Okay, stop.